Welcome back to the philosophy series of the month of Earth. Today's theme is going to be Earth as a responsibility. In this month, related to Earth, we've already spoken about the body, about our first home, the way we can begin to practice with the body. And we also spoke about the environment, the world around us, the spaces that hold us, the air, the garden, the home, the animals, the food, and the ordinary reality in which practice actually happens. Today, I want to go one step further, because Earth is not only an idea, not only a symbol, not only something that is beautiful in the background of our life. Earth also asks something from us. It asks for responsibility. And I know that world can feel heavy if you grew up in an environment that made it like that. It can sound like guilt. It can sound like pressure. It can sound like one more thing that you are failing at in a world that is already full of problems. But that is not what I mean here. I do not mean guilt. With responsibility, I mean relationship. Because responsibility, in the deepest sense, means I am able to respond, to answer. I'm not separate. I'm not outside of life. I'm not just floating through the world, using Earth as a background. I'm alive because the Earth supports me. Every breath is a gift from the living world. Every meal comes from the soil, water, the sunlight, plants, the labor, and the countless visible and invisible beings. Everybody is made from the earth, maintained by the earth, and one day returned to the earth. So if we are supported by life every moment, the question becomes, how do we respond? Not perfectly, doesn't have to be a drama, doesn't have to come with panic or guilt or self-hatred. No, just honestly. How do we live in a way that causes less harm and more good? How do we become less violent in the way we eat, buy, waste, move, consume, speak, and exist among other beings? How do we become more responsible, more good, more coherent? This is where earth practice becomes very practical, because love for the earth cannot remain only a feeling. It cannot only be beautiful words about trees and rivers and golden sunsets. If I say that I love the earth, but I never ask how my life affects the earth, then my love is incomplete. If I say I love animals, but I never look at the systems that turn animals into objects, products, and invisible suffering, then my love is selective. If I say that I value life, but I only value the parts of life that are convenient or pretty, then I've not gone very far yet. And this is not to shame anyone, it's to invite honesty. In yoga, honesty begins very clearly with ahimsa, non-harming. And this, as we spoke about it before, is not just a decorative principle. It's not just something that means that you have to be nice or kind. It's a very serious practice. It asks us to look at the harm that we cause directly and indirectly. The harm that we cause to ourselves, the harm that we cause to others, the harm we cause to the animals, to the ecosystems, the harm that we cause through carelessness or convenience, habit, denial, and unnecessary consumption. Of course, we cannot live without affecting anything. Every life leaves traces because we eat, we use the water, we need shelter, we take space, and that's fine. We participate in systems that are not always pure. Ahimsa does not mean that you have to become impossibly perfect and untouched by the world, but it does mean that you have to become responsible. You have to reduce unnecessary harm wherever you can, to become more conscious, to stop pretending that convenience is just neutral. And this is where, for example, veganism or vegetarianism can enter the conversation. Because veganism is not only a diet, far from it. It's a practical expression of ahimsa. It's a way of saying that if I can live without turning animals into food, clothing, entertainment, or objects of use, then I should try to do that. Not because I hate people who are not vegan, not because I think I'm morally superior, not because the world is a simple place and it's easy to be vegan, but because animals are not things. They are living beings with bodies, with fear, with preferences, relationships, intelligence, vulnerability, and their own experience of life. They do not exist as ingredients. A cow is not milk, a chicken is not eggs, a pig is not bacon, a fish is not a swimming vegetable, and an animal is not just another product that happens to have eyes. And I think part of spiritual maturity is allowing ourselves to feel this without immediately running away. Because sometimes it's painful to see clearly. It is painful to realize that something can be legal, common, traditional, profitable, and still not compassionate, good, or coherent. And this is where satya, truthfulness, comes in. Satya asks us to not to hide from reality, just because reality is uncomfortable sometimes. And when it comes to the animals, we hide a lot. We hide the killing behind the clean packaging. We hide the suffering behind words like natural, traditional, or just food. We hide the individual animal behind the category meat, dairy, eggs, leather, wool. And we also hide behind the idea that because something has always been done, it must be acceptable. But yoga should make us more awake, not more skilled at defending our unconscious habits. So Satya asks us, what's actually happening? What am I supporting? What do I know deep down but prefer not to look at? And again, the point is not self hatred, not guilt. Self hatred is not useful. The point is responsibility. Once I can see more clearly, I can respond differently. That is the movement from ignorance to practice. And it's also connected to asteya, non-stealing. Usually asteya means not taking what does not belong to us, but we can understand it more deeply. Do we steal land from wild beings? Do we steal life from animals because we enjoy the taste of their bodies or secretions? Do we steal clean water and healthy soil from future generations? Do we steal the possibility of a living planet from children who have not yet arrived? Do we take more than what we need because we have been trained to confuse desire with necessity? When we exploit the earth as if it exists only for us, we are stealing. When we treat animals as resources rather than beings, we are stealing. And when we consume in a way that destroys the conditions of life for others, we are stealing. Not always consciously, not because of evil intentions, but the effect still matters. Yoga is not only about intention, it's mainly about action. And then we come to aparigraha, non grasping. This principle is deeply important if we want to support the earth, because much of the environmental destruction comes from grasping. trying to get more comfort, more convenience, more products, more speed, more novelty, more pleasure without thinking about consequences, and more taking without actually entering in a relationship with the earth. Aparigraha asks us to notice where I want has become more important than what is disgusting. What is disgusting to the animal? What is disgusting the forest? What is disgusting the water? What is disgusting the person who made it? What is disgusting the future, our children's future? This does not mean we must live in misery. It means we stop confusing freedom with endless consumption. Real freedom is not needing so much. Real freedom is being able to enjoy beauty without possessing everything. It's being able to stay enough. And this is where Earth really, really begins. Because Earth also has limits. The body has limits. The land has limits. The water has limits. Animals have limits. And ecosystems have limits. A culture that refuses limits will eventually become violent. So, learning to live with limits is not a failure, it's wisdom, it's ecological maturity, it's spiritual maturity, and it's all the responsibility we need to collect. And then there is saucha, purity or cleanliness, as we spoke about it before. But again, not in a rigid or superior way. In this context, saucha would mean clean action, clean relationship, less poison, less waste, less hidden violence, and less confusion between what nourishes and what harms. A vegan meal can be a form of saucha, not because it makes us pure per se, but because it can be a cleaner relationship with food, with plants, grains, legumes, fruits, seeds, vegetables, spices, earth, and sunlight. Food that does not require the same level of domination over another sentient being. Of course, plant agriculture is not perfect either. There are issues of labor, of soil, of transport, of pesticides, of monocultures, packaging, and waste. Veganism is not the end of ethical living. It's not a magic badge, it's a beginning, a very concrete beginning. A daily practice of reducing harm where we can. And then our compassion has to widen even more to the plants, to the soil, to the forests, to the rivers, to the insects, to the invisible life under our feet. Now, compassion for plants is not the same as compassion for animals. Plants do not suffer the same way animals do. They do not have a nervous system like animals. So we should not use plants are alive too as an excuse to ignore animal suffering. Nonetheless, plants are alive. And the plant world deserves reverence. Not sentimentality, but reverence. A tree is not just a furniture waiting to happen. A forest is not an empty land to gain money. Soil is not dirt. A river is not just a drain. And the mountain is not just resource. The earth is not dead material. It's a living web, and we are inside it. This is where ecology and spirituality actually meet. Because to harm the web is to harm ourselves. But more than that, even if harming the earth did not harm us, it would still matter. And this is important. We should not care for the earth only because humans need it. Of course, yes, we need the forests, we need the water, we need the air, we need to have pollinators, biodiversity, climate stability, and normally a healthy soil. But animals and plants do not matter only because they are useful to humans. They matter because they are expressions of life. They have their own place in the great unfolding of the existence. Compassion becomes shallow if it only protects what benefits us. True compassion says, "You do not have to be useful to me in order to matter." And this is why our duty to the earth is not only practical, it is also moral, spiritual, relational. If I receive life, I owe care to life. If I'm fed by the earth, I owe respect to the earth. And if I have the power to reduce suffering, I have the responsibility to do it. Not because I'm able to fix everything alone, but because I'm not allowed to use "I cannot do everything" as an excuse to do nothing. And this is important. Many people collapse between two extremes. Either they try to be perfect and then they become overwhelmed, they stop, they are ashamed. Or they say, "Nothing I do matters," and they don't try in the first place. But earth practice lives between those extremes. Small actions matter, not because one action saves the world, but because repeated action becomes character. And character can become culture, and the culture can become the world. What we eat matters, what we buy matters, how we treat the animals matters, how we speak about plants matters, how we use water matters, how we waste things matters, how we care for the space around us matters, and how we teach children to see life matters. How we respond when nobody is applauding us matters. And this is karma yoga too. Action as practice. Action done with care. Action done not only for personal benefit, but because it's right. Sometimes karma yoga is feeding someone, sometimes it's planting, sometimes it's protecting, sometimes it's just refusing to participate in cruelty. Choosing the less harmful option, even when nobody sees. Sometimes it's cooking a vegan meal, or picking up rubbish, or it's supporting sanctuaries, or learning where our food is coming from and honor it. Sometimes it's to reduce waste. Sometimes it's to say no to something that harms life. Sometimes it's simply pausing before consumption and asking, is this necessary? Who paid the real price for this? Can I choose differently? This is not shining spirituality. This is not spirituality that floats above the world. This is hand in the soil spirituality. Spirituality in the kitchen, in the garden, in the shopping basket, in the compost, in the rescue the insect from the house principle, or to do the boring and right thing principle. And I think we need this, because the earth does not need us to have beautiful opinions about compassion. The earth needs compassionate action. Animals do not need us to love the idea of animals. They need us to stop harming them where we can. Plants do not need us to post pretty pictures of nature while living as if nature is disposable. They need care, protection, space, water, restraint, attention. And maybe this sounds too strict for you, but sometimes love should be strict. Not cruel, but serious. If we say we love life, then eventually that love must discipline us. It must change what we do. It must change what we support. It must change what we call normal. Because a love that never asks anything from us is not mature. The earth gives constantly, but if we only receive and we never respond, we remain children. And the real practice should help us to grow up, to become capable of gratitude that becomes action, compassion that becomes change, truth that becomes a choice, love that becomes responsibility. So, for this earth reflection, I do not want to end with a vague idea. I want to end with a clear invitation. Choose one area where you can reduce harm, just one, at first. Maybe it's food, maybe it's waste, maybe it's animals, maybe water or plastic or transportation. Maybe it's the way that you care for your garden or the way you go shopping. Maybe it's just the way how you speak about insects, weeds, and animals as pests. Choose one place where your life touches the earth and make it more compassionate. Not necessarily perfect by the first step, but more compassionate, more with goodness, more coherent. If you still eat animal products, try one fully plant based day, and then another, and another. See how it goes. If you already eat plant based, look at the waste, the packaging, or the food sources. If you have a garden, just make one part more friendly to insects, to birds, or to wild plants. If you see rubbish, pick it up. If you find an insect inside, carry it out instead of killing it. If you buy something, pause and ask whether you truly need it. If you have children or students, teach them that animals are someone and not something. If you pray, let your prayer grow hands. If you practice yoga, let your yoga reach the world. Because Earth is not only something beneath us, Earth is what we belong to. And belonging comes with duty. Not duty of guilt, duty of love, duty of relationship, and the duty of receiving life and answering with care. This is Earth as a responsibility, and this is also yoga.